So this was my phonics and grammar lesson. This one I felt a little, I'm sorry.
Okay.
This one I felt went fairly well, actually pretty well, since I wrote down way more strengths than weaknesses. So let's see if you're on the same page. I put down that it was good that I did the repetition of keywords. I kept coming back to commas, quotation marks, capital letters, and having them repeat it back to me. And I did good check back for understanding with students who gave wrong answers. So like in particular parts when KJ said he wanted to put in parentheses, so then we went over the 3 steps again, and then I came back to KJ, so do you want to change your answer? And he changed it. So that was a good connection. And then at a certain point I got 2 wrong answers in a row, and I told them, okay, turn to your partners and tell them what you think it is and why. So I thought that was good to break it up instead of people just going blindly, to get partner talk in there. And then I was able to give examples and non-examples. When people said I should put a question mark after good morning, I showed them exactly why and proceeded why that would be wrong. There was TPR, having them go through the motions of what a comma is, a quotation mark, and then had students come up to the board, so that made them more engaged, because in the beginning they were it was a little dry. And I think this time I did a little bit better job of giving clear directions, having all of their attention on me while I went through with them. Weaknesses, I have that sometimes I was telling students, no, that's not quite it, but not telling them why. So I think with David said, oh, I should put a period, and it was at the end of the dialogue, but not at the end of the sentence. So that's something that I totally could have clarified. I could have said, no, it wouldn't be a period because our sentence is still going, but our dialogue has stopped, so what should we put? I needed to be a little bit more clear on the order of the movements. I think since I got them to stand up to do it, they couldn't all see what I was doing, because some of them were in the back and they were kind of blocked. So they were confused on whether the comma goes first or the quotation marks. So I had to slow that down and go back over it. And I should maybe try different strategies to have more participation, because it seems to be the same couple of people answering. So maybe I could have pulled their cards to ask questions and things like that, instead of just calling on the same hands.
Good.
Yeah.
I agree with all of it. I think that's all great. And I feel like this was a very strong lesson.
Okay.
I thought it went really well, and it seemed like you really accomplished the point that you were trying to, and it seemed like the vast majority of them understood it.
Yeah.
So I felt overall far more strengths on this one.
Cool.
I'll go through what I have really quick. I wrote down a lot more strengths than weaknesses, and most of the stuff I wrote down was just suggestions. I wouldn't even classify it as a weakness.
Okay.
I felt that it was planned out very well. You had a good 5-step format. You had a clear introduction, and then you gave them examples of what you were going to be showing them first. You showed it to them, and then you had them practice it with you, and then you went back and you built on it a little bit more, and then you had them practice that as well before you left them on their own to do it. And that's great, because it gradually builds on their knowledge, and it gives them a little bit more responsibility until they're ready to do it.
Yeah.
It's always important that when you're introducing like a skill or a concept that you model it for them first. And I felt you did a good job this one, because you actually did it, and you just said, you walked through it, and you basically thought out loud and explained what was happening, and why. And so that was great. I thought that the hand motions were a good touch, because a lot of the times, the grammar lessons and stuff can get dull, because it's just, work on this, and it isn't as active. And so anytime you can bring in motion is a good thing. I thought they went fairly well. I did notice the same thing, because sometimes you would do the quotes and then you would do the comma, and sometimes you do the comma and then the quotes, and some of them were getting confused by that. Some of it knew what they were supposed to do, and I think some of them just weren't even aware that it was switching. But I noticed it, and so you actually did clarify it when you had him get up the second time, I think it was. And so I actually wrote down that was good, because you were aware that it might have been a little bit confusing, and you clarified it on your own. So that was good. I felt in terms of your instruction, beyond just formatting it the way you did and then running through it with examples before you gave them practice, I wrote down strength for this one was you reviewed the directions with them before you let them work independently, and that's always very important. For the most part, they should be able to take the sheets and read through the directions on their own and do it. But there are some of them who will get stuck with that right away, so it doesn't hurt to say, this is what you're going to be doing.
To save them time before they even jump in.
Yeah, and you always want to be sure the directions are clear before they start an activity. When it's something like a worksheet, a lot of times you can say, all the directions you need to give is, we're going to be working on this worksheet. I want you to read the directions on the page and then work on it on your own. And you've given them the directions. But it does help to take that extra step and explain it to them sometimes.
Right.
So that was good. Let's see. There was the hummingbird at one point showed up at the window, and so I'm sorry for that. Like the entire class, KJ, of course, hummingbird! And so they all stop. And so I wrote down that strength was you tried to redirect them, and you went, okay, I know we're getting distracted, let's pull it back in here. Okay. I did note, though, that you want to be sure that you have all of them regain that focus before you proceed, because you're like, all right, let's try not to get distracted and let's go, and then you kind of went going, but half of them were still looking. So you tried there, but be sure that, okay, I know it's distracting, you guys are going to turn around here, or else, or...
I have to be successful first.
You need to be sure that you actually accomplish it before you move on. So I wrote down that it was good that you noted it, you didn't just keep on trying to teach, you noted it and tried to redirect them. Just be sure that you get them all back before you proceed. But yeah, I'm sorry about that when that happened. I was like, funny. Oh no, but those are the things that are going to happen.
It's natural, right?
Yeah, first grade was especially bad. Anytime there was a spider or anything else, the entire lesson would stop. So those are the kinds of things you will hit in normal teaching, and you handled it fairly well. Just be sure that you get everyone back, because those kinds of things happen more than you'd expect. So it's good. I felt that all around you maintained a really good, a quiet, well-controlled academic environment.
Okay.
I felt like for this one there was a lot less side conversations and talking, even things with the hummingbird. For the most part, they regained their composure really quick, and I think it's just the way you presented the lesson and the way you went through it all. It was very well structured, and I knew what they needed to be doing at any given point.
Okay.
And so I felt it really encouraged them to stay focused, and it really helped. And you maintained it very well. You didn't let anything really derail it, and you controlled it very well. So I thought that was really good. Vocabulary was good. I actually wrote down already for your reflection. I wrote down you were aware of some minor trouble areas during the lesson because you noted the comma thing, and that you also redirected them, and that you clarified things when it was necessary.
Okay.
So all around great. I wrote down the times that I had. The intro and guided practice, your whole teaching part was about 19 minutes, which is good. That's about standard. And then their independent practice was, I put down 29. So all around it was about 50 minutes. It's a little bit long for a phonics lesson, but for something like this where it is more in depth, it's normal. Okay. With lessons like this where it's more complicated, an hour-long lesson, you might need it, because they may just need that much practice to get through. Especially because they were rewriting sentences. That always takes a long time, just because it's, if they were just putting in the quotation marks, they could have gone through a lot faster, but having to rewrite it, it takes them a while. So I felt your teaching part, 19 minutes, is a great time.
Okay.
And then independent practice, you can only control so much, so I felt all around your time management was really good for this lesson.
I actually didn't write it down this time, so that's good.
I'm keeping track just because I mentioned it before, so I figured I should be. The only other thing that I would say to watch out for, I did note that you didn't really have a closing for this lesson. And like I said, sometimes it's not necessary, sometimes it is. This one I felt like it would have been a good thing. Yeah, just at the end, before we moved on to the next thing, just say, remember in your own writing that these are the things you need to do, or let's go over the steps one more time so we know what to do from now on.
And we're doing it to clarify for your reader, or else they won't know who's talking. And
exactly.
Who's
so just taking 1 or 2 minutes just to wrap it all up at the end is always good, especially because with something like this where you do have some kids that finish really early and move on, and you have some that are working on it the whole time, it brings the ones who have been done and kind of it's out of their mind for a little while, brings it back to them, so it's just reinforcing it again. So yeah, but all around I felt this was very strong. They seem to get it really well. I've been talking to the other third grade teachers, and they're all saying how horrible Quotations is going for them.
Really?
And so I'm feeling pretty good because I feel like they're actually getting it pretty well.
Their worksheets were pretty good.
Yeah, so they had problems, but compared to the troubles that everyone else is having, you know, we're doing great. So
All right.
I felt this was really good.
That's
So,
good.
Excellent.
That's exciting to hear.
Yeah.